Thank you so much. I'm so glad to be back. And yes, that is right. I'm going to be beginning rabbinical school this fall at the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College. So I'm very excited about that. Um, yeah, so I'm going to speak briefly and then lead a guided meditation. I This week's parsha I wanted to talk a little bit about to lead us into our practice today. So in this parsha, Shlach, Yod He Vav He, God tells Moses to send scouts out to survey the land of Canaan. And they go out and they find gigantic fruit, these humongous grapes, and they see all these different peoples all around the land. And when they return to make their report, they tell of these giant people who are too strong to contend with, cities that are too fortified. And they close their report with this line: and we looked like grasshoppers to ourselves, and so we must have looked to them. So when we are faced with something scary or intimidating, whether it's another person or a situation or unfamiliar territory, we can suddenly feel so small and fragile, vulnerable. And we can, from that place, shut down, freeze, avoid, because we feel threatened. We feel like we don't have the resources to meet this, to meet what is possibly coming. And this can happen whether our fears are real or imagined. And it's a little bit unclear in this parsha, I think, whether or how threatening the situation actually is. We get this report, seems to get a bit scarier and scarier the more we read, the longer it goes on. So I wanted to share a personal story about where this practice we're going to do today comes from. Um, a few years ago, I had to have a medical test done, and I was told that it would be a painful test and that I had to be awake for it. Um, and they started the test, and it really was painful. And I felt very scared. I wasn't sure I was going to be able to get through it. And in that moment, I just turned to my practice and said, "Okay, what have you got for me?" And what came to my mind was actually an image of my rabbi, Rachel Goldenberg. And this image of her from a photo that I saw of her getting arrested with several other rabbis protesting against the family separation at the border a few years ago. And in this photo, her hands are in twist ties and her head is just held high. And she has this kind of calm smile on her face, wearing her colorful tallit. And in that moment, her face just came to me in my mind. And I thought of her smiling at me with that calm, determined smile, sending me her strength and her belief in me. And I stayed with that image and I got through the test. And so just that moment of remembering her courage and drawing on my connection to her helped to refuel my spirit so that I could show up. And this is just one personal example. I think, all of us have felt small and vulnerable at times. And maybe even particularly over a year of pandemic stress has, reduced a lot of us at times to feeling like we're in this prolonged state of feeling like a grasshopper. So when we feel this way, how do we work with it? What can we draw on for courage, support, for strength? So today I want to offer a meditation for when we feel like a grasshopper, when we feel small and vulnerable, how we can strengthen our courage to meet fearful situations with an open heart. And this practice is going to be a little bit mindfulness adjacent. It'll be an adapted blessing practice, or loving kindness practice. So I'd like to invite you to settle in, You can choose any posture that your body needs today. You can sit, lie down, stand, whatever you need. If you need to stretch or move your body first to help you settle in, feel free to. And you're welcome to close your eyes if you're comfortable closing your eyes, or you can keep your eyes open with a soft, gentle gaze. Settling into sensations of contact, noticing the floor beneath you, or feeling the contact with your seat or cushion. The hands resting in the lap. The feeling of fabric on your skin. Letting go of any extra tensing or holding in the body. Softening the eyes, the forehead, the jaw. Allowing your shoulders to drop. Softening the belly. And resting here with an awareness of the body sitting, grounded, stable. Aware of the sensations of the body, breathing in and breathing out. So we're settling in, resting here for a few more moments with the body sitting and breathing. And as we continue with this guided meditation, if any of these instructions aren't right for you, or if you feel overwhelmed at any time, you can choose to open your eyes. You can come back to your breath or to another grounding, stabilizing sensation. And inviting into your mind an image of someone who you consider inspiring or brave, or someone who makes you feel cared for, loved, safe. It can be someone who you feel has shown up courageously, who has met difficulty with a kind heart. And this can be someone you know. It can be a friend or a family member or a teacher, an activist, a religious figure. It can be an animal. It can be a sturdy tree or mountain. It can be the moon or the sun. It can be someone who is living or no longer living, as long as bringing them to mind won't be overwhelming or destabilizing to you. It could even be an image of yourself, remembering a time when you met a difficult situation. So choosing one image, one person or animal, tree, bringing this image of this being into your mind. Picturing them, getting a feeling for them, for their presence, what it's like to be in their presence. And imagining them maybe smiling at you or looking at you with caring eyes, sending you blessings of wellness and strength. Through their presence, through their gaze, imagining them sending their bravery, courage, compassion into your body, into your heart. You might even imagine a beam of light emanating from this being, encircling you with their courage, their love, their stability. Or if you like, imagining them blessing you with words, something that they might say, or with phrases like, may you feel protected and safe. May you feel strong. May you have ease and peace. May you feel protected and safe. May you feel strong. May you have ease and peace. Continuing to rest with this being's image and presence. Imagining being blessed by them in whatever form is right for you. We'll continue silently for a few minutes. If your attention wanders away, that's okay. Coming back gently to this moment, sitting here, breathing, bringing back into your mind the image of this caring, inspiring being. To being strengthened by your relationship with them, imagining them blessing you, soothing you. May you feel protected and safe. May you feel strong. May you have ease and peace. Continuing silently for a few more minutes. Beginning to let any images dissolve. Resting with any lingering felt sensations within you of stability, strength, compassion. Noticing what this is like. And feeling once again the solidity of the floor, solidity of the seat that you're in. Feeling your connection to the earth. The movement of the breath in and out. Closing the sit with a poem by Adrienne Marie Brown, A Moon Kind of Night. Tonight the moon is bright, not full, but so full, telling me she can see the sun even when I can't. She can see the light of all our lives. She can share it with me. A creature moves through the woods and I think it's bedtime. But that little hungry one, guided by senses I can never know, says, there is life in the dark and beauty. Don't be so scared. And I am scared to feel so much about the so far away people and places, the so mysterious future. I can't save anything, only love it all so much. And love moves through the fear, reaching and touching me, showing me I am more than I know. And we are all doing our best to be wild, still, to be free. And the moon moves over me, moves through, unapologetic in her power, reminding me I am hers, reminding me I am tides, reminding me I am full, even here, even now, in the shadows.
Thank you so much, Emily. We have an opportunity to bring that practice or extend that practice right now by manifesting that faithfulness to each other, especially specifically to those who are in mourning, who are observing a yard site, who are in pain, who are carrying grief. And as always, we invite those of you who are who meet those criteria to share the name or names of anyone you're holding in your heart today in the chat box, and to rise either in body or in spirit and join me in Kaddish as we seal our practice together. Yitgadal, Yitgadash Shemerava,
Amen.
Yama Divra Chiruche Hon Hon Beit Ahagala Ankari Amen.
Amen. Hey Shmei Rabba Mavora. Leole Omaya.
Yitbarach Yitbarach
Raman Venus,
Cool.
Amen.
Amen.
Mark, you're muted.
Friends, thank you so much, as always, for joining us for this practice today. For those who are able and interested, you're welcome to stay on for a few more minutes for a conversation with Emily Herzlin about this beautiful teaching for today, which really complemented so beautifully yesterday's teaching. Just a reminder about tomorrow's sit, which will be led by Rabbi Sheila Peltz-Weinberg and co-sponsored by the Jewish Addiction Awareness Network. We hope we'll see you tomorrow to sit into Shabbat together. And if not, we hope to see you all. Hope to see you all next week. And of course, a reminder that this and all of these mindfulness meditations are recorded and posted on the IJS YouTube channel. So if you have not yet subscribed, we encourage you to do that, and always to revisit or check out any of the meditations, as well as the yoga sessions and Jonathan Slater's Torah study sessions there as well. Thanks to ID Stein. Thanks to Emily Herzlin. Emily, I'm going to put in the chat box before I forget your website. Emily is, as I think everyone here now knows well, very talented Jewish mindfulness teacher and writer, and excited that you'll be attending my alma mater next year, Emily. That's really great. So we're going to transition to the Q&A section here, and if you do have a question for Emily about the teaching, and I'm anticipating that there's going to be requests for the poem, so maybe if you can put in the chat box the name of the poet and the poem. It was Adrienne Brown, you said?
Yeah, Adrienne Marie Brown. There's the link to her website with the poem.
Wow. That's a keeper.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you joined us yesterday, but even if you didn't, this was a beautiful complement to yesterday's teaching by Yiska Smith, who's focused on the concept of, also speaking, of course, about the story of the spies and the scouts, and the insecurity, anxiety of the people with which we can so readily identify. And Yiska focused on the capacity to cultivate bitachon atzmi, trust in oneself. And this, I thought, was just a fantastic compliment, because especially those of you who have been involved at all with our Awareness in Action program, we teach the midah of emunah as trustworthiness, which really means essentially keeping the faith and helping instill a sense of trust in others. So, Emily, what you were describing really struck me as, bringing to mind and holding in our hearts the images of people, including ourselves, in moments where were able to access that sense of trust and communicate. It also occurred to me, it's like, it's contagious. Courage, confidence, trust is contagious. You see it in somebody else. It helps us identify it in ourselves. So I actually wanted also to invite people. We haven't do this very often, but if anybody is comfortable sharing whose image came up for you in the chat box, I think we would all really enjoy seeing that. It doesn't, you don't have to name names, but whatever situation, whatever person came up for you, that was like Rabbi Rachel Goldenberg's, that image for you, Emily, in that moment. So powerful. I mean, I'll share mine. One of them that came up for me was actually Martin Luther King the night before he was assassinated, when it was clear that he was well aware that that was a distinct possibility. And he said, I'm not fearing any man. And I just I watched that over and over, and I just feel like, how can that be? How can that be? And the other one for me, I'll just throw in also, is our friend and teacher, Sam Finesmith, who describes being on a plane. You may know this story with his wife. Oh, it's a great story. Well, I don't want to take the time with that. I want to hear more from you. But essentially, it's being on a plane that's in turbulence, and you think it's going down, and having a moment where he was able to maintain a sense of connection and calm in that moment. Anyway, I guess I'm going to throw it to you. What are your thoughts on that in terms of this idea of this being contagious? Like, what happens when we have that image or we witness that in another? You would you say?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to say I love what's coming into the chat right now. It's just, there's so many different kinds of figures and people, and a white owl, and it's just wonderful. Yeah, I mean, I think, there can sometimes be in, meditation spaces, this idea that, we have everything we need inside of us. We don't have to, we have all the resources we need. We don't have to look elsewhere or outside of ourselves. And I just don't really think that's totally true. We are connected. We live in an interdependent world. We aren't just these single, solid, separate,
right?
Self-sufficient beings. We're affected by our environment, by our world, by the people around us. And so, and that can affect us in, both, I think, negative and positive ways. So I think that there are times in our lives when it is really hard to just say, well, what can I find, just within myself? Sometimes that's just, we need to go outwards, reach outwards. I actually remember a conversation I had with our teacher, Sheila, a number of years ago. Sheila's my spiritual director. I love Sheila with all of my heart. And it was when I was really first connecting with her and really trying to connect more with prayer. I was really struggling to connect with prayer. And one of the things I was struggling with was, I don't know who I'm talking to. What am I talking to, when I'm praying? And Sheila's response, I'll always remember, was, who cares? Just talk. And it just gave me permission to relate in that moment to prayer as the act of reaching outside, even if I didn't know what or who exactly I was reaching outside to. So, yeah, to be able to say, help, was very powerful. Yeah.
Yeah, that's thanks for sharing that. That's beautiful. And it is really I encourage people to scroll through what people have shared in the chat. It's so moving, so moving. Yeah. Meryl Littman just put in, by the way, Meryl's sharing, we have everything we need inside us, but to access it, it may help to picture another person or thing that shares as confidence as light would be shared from a candle. That's such a beautiful, beautiful image. I'm thinking about the menorah. But also I'm thinking about all these examples, in rabbinic literature too, about what it means to, how do we support others? How do we support ourselves simply by being present? So there's something about the leaving aside the content, Emily, like I'm wondering about just having an image of someone else who's in a place of, exuding a sense of security, that it's also just feeling not alone in it, it's like going back to what you said, that it's it's an illusion that we are self-contained, right, and self-sufficient and autonomous. We are in this web. And when we think about somebody else or call them to mind, we become more aware of that connection. And that alone, can do that. Especially someone
Yeah.
you love, like you're talking about beloved teachers, right?
Yeah, I think the added, when we're suffering, that added suffering of, I'm the only one,
Mm-hmm.
and no one else feels this way. It's, I'm alone, can really add so much to the pain we're experiencing in that moment. And something that I've discovered in teaching mindfulness groups, and when people, bring in to that space their stress, their suffering, their pain, one of the biggest surprises for so many people is just the realization that they're not alone,
Mm-hmm.
that this is so universal in a way, even if the specifics of the situation are different. The experience of stress is so common, it's so shared, that itself, that realization, can be extremely liberating and healing, just to be just to recognize that, I'm not alone, and this is a human experience to suffer. It's not because I screwed up or that I'm bad, but it's just being human. There is difficulty in our lives, and that is okay, that it's not wrong.
Right. Without offering any wisdom or advising or fixing,
Right.
obviously,
Right.
which is kind of the, I think the cardinal rule of pastoral care, which leads me to my next question, because I know you work in the medical context and you teach mindfulness in the medical context. I'm wondering about uh, both the distinction and the overlap between pastoral care and teaching mindfulness, like, because what you're describing here, I feel feels so on point. I know you work with providers mostly, correct?
No, I mostly work with patients. I'm
Okay.
not in the pastoral care department. I'm in
Mm-hmm.
the integrative health department. So it's not so much at the bedside. A little bit of that, but mostly, patients who are coming for group
Mm-hmm.
classes or one-on-one mindfulness sessions. So
So do
they're
you use that? I imagine you use this quite a bit.
Yeah, this meditation and similar meditations, especially around pain,
Mm-hmm.
discomfort,
Mm-hmm.
um, and sometimes this direction, but also the reverse direction as well, and using that process of sending compassion and goodwill and friendliness to someone who we love,
Mm-hmm.
and then to see if we can harness that attitude to send it to the places in our body that are in pain, that are struggling, that we would often judge or try to, negotiate with, and are in a constant, battle with, um, but to engage with them in a different, loving, friendly relationship. So this practice, loving kindness, self-compassion, um, it's a major tool, technology of the work that I do. It's very powerful.
Well, that's a huge gift. Just want to, we have just a couple of minutes, but if people do have a burning question that we could put to Emily quickly, feel free to put it in the chat box. Um, I guess I want to leave it there for now, Emily. I know you're in your work setting, so I want to thank you so much, as always, for leading us today. I get a lot of pleasure, and just putting the contact back in there. So Emily's website is there. You can check that out. People should know that actually I learned about Emily as a teacher through your rabbi, Rachel Goldenberg, who has led us here in the past as well and has taught frequently for IJS as well. Um, and what a nice segue
If I
also.
can maybe do a quick
Yeah,
plug as well
yeah,
for
please, please.
Malhut.
Yes.
So Rabbi Goldenberg came to Queens, New York a few years ago to begin Malhut, a progressive Jewish spiritual community I'm a lay leader in the community. I'm actually co-leading a Zoom Shabbat service this Saturday morning with my spouse. So if anyone would like to meditate with me on this Parsha, again, we're going to do a somewhat different practice this Saturday morning, and daven and do some text study. Would absolutely love to share Shabbat with you all this Saturday morning.
Okay, hold on. Don't go away, everyone. Okay, here's so malchutqueens.org is the site for the community. And just this nice way to seal the deal here is, the other thing I was thinking, Emily, is that, in Jewish theology, particularly in Jewish mystical theology, we definitely have this sense of God being present in all things, including, maybe even especially, in our tsuris, in our pain and our fear and anxiety. And I always take a lot of comfort from texts that reinforce that, where God says, I've got you, I'm with you in this. You're not alone. And how humans manifest that in some way. And the concept of Shekhinah, and which is connected to the Sphira of Malchut, as those of you who went through the Omer with us know well, really connotes that sense of presence, And this week's Parsha, as Emily was, I think, teaching so beautifully, represents what happens when we lose our awareness of that presence, when we struggle with that, and we get so much strength, as you sang so beautifully, from witnessing that awareness in others. So may it spread, may in fact be contagious in such a positive way. And thanks again, Emily, for beautiful teaching today, and great segue into Sheila tomorrow. So hope to see you all tomorrow at 12:30 Eastern, and many blessings.